Hey legends, welcome to the show. I am excited to get into this new series of reviews on the podcast. As you know, we've been going through the collection of Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode by episode, as well as movies and Friday evenings. So here on Wednesday nights from now on, I'm not going to miss a week for this series because I absolutely love the spin-off to Buffy. It is, of course, Angel. Brilliant series, and it starts off with an incredibly strong opening episode. Of course, if you were following the Buffy series, Angel left at the end of season 3, and I didn't actually catch it on the last review I did here, did they? The opening episode of season 4 of Buffy. There's a point where the phone rings in her mother's house and she answers it, and it connects to this episode here. So I'm not exactly sure which way it's running. Did the Angel episode come before the Buffy episode? But in the episode close to the end, he does lift the phone in his new apartment, and he's living in a basement in the series, and he calls a number, and you hear on the other side of the phone Buffy's voice, and she's like, hello, but he hangs up the phone. So that's the phone call she got in the opening episode of season 4 of her own show. So this is class. I absolutely love this series. It took me a while to kind of warm up to the Angel character in season 1 of Buffy, but once you get into his standalone episode of that series, or well, his backstory episode of that series, from then on, I really did warm to that character, and of course, season 2 brought out probably the best of Angel and the whole Angelus storyline. So I was just really curious and excited to get into this series whenever it first came out, and yes, I actually have the whole collection on VHS of the series, and it's one of those things where back in the day, whenever this has been aired, I was glad that I actually decided, because I was watching them on TV as they came out, and I'm glad I went and I got the box set, because there's a couple of episodes, at least a couple of episodes throughout the run of Angel that were not aired in the UK, and it's a more grown-up show. There's a couple of episodes where I was probably just deemed too graphic or whatever the case may be. It's not that the shows are overly graphic, but it is indeed a more grown-up version of this character than we've seen in the Angel series. So the Buffy series. So it's great. So in the opening episode, Angel, he sat at a bar in the middle of Los Angeles, and he's pretending to be drunk, more or less. He's trying to be one of these. He's getting on like a whist or something at the bar, essentially, and he notices 3 people leaving the bar with 2 girls. He's been keeping an eye on them, and he slides out after them, and these guys are saying to the girls, okay, you know what, we're not going to go to the club anymore, we're going to party right here. And of course they change into vampires, and Angel comes out still acting drunk, and he staggers up, and he's like, has anybody seen my car? And it's big and it's shiny, and the vampires are like, piss off, pal, more or less. And yes, the fight breaks out, and Angel takes out the 2 vampires with this, and I can't recall if he actually used this, or anybody used this in the Buffy series offhand, but he drops his 2 hands to his side, and 2 stakes flip out from his wrists, and he stakes the 2 vampires, and the leader of the gang comes at him and hits him over the head with like a trash bin can, whatever you want to call it, knocks him to the floor, and when he gets back up, he's himself changed into vampire form, and beats the vampire senseless and throws him onto the bonnet or the hood of a car. The two girls that were attacked by the vampires are thanking him for helping them, but one of the girls has got a gash on her forehead and the blood's running down her face. And of course, Angel's like, get away from me, more or less. And he's part of this opening episode. It does bring up the question of when was the last time he fed on a human, and he mentions that it was Buffy. So that is insanely, now to think about it, that's insanely strong blood that Angel drank there, saying she was the Slayer. So it's going to leave him with a deep thirst. So he stakes the last vampire before he walks off. And when he gets back to his new apartment, which is below on ground floor office space, like a basement apartment, there's a guy down there waiting for him, an Irish guy called Doyle. And he's there. And Angel's like, who the heck are you, more or less? And Doyle introduces himself as, more or less, he's been sent by the powers that be, and he's got a mission for Angel. And if you did happen to skip into this opening episode and you weren't familiar with the back story of everything that happened in the Buffy series, Doyle shares the story of the baddest vampire in all the land, and we get all these flashbacks of Angel as Angelus, and then Doyle goes through the whole thing about, when he was the baddest vampire he killed, and then he one day was cursed by gypsies and he got his human soul back, and then I think this story needs a bit of sex, is my thinking, and sure enough, in comes the girl, and then we get flashbacks of Buffy and whatnot, and then the fall from grace of him and Buffy getting together and him losing his soul, and again, all flashbacks as Doyle's telling the story, and Angel's like, you've just told me the story of my life, and it's just purely for the viewer that's maybe not familiar with the Buffy series, but he's like, you've just told me the story of my life, so since it was there, I already knew it, so why am I not kicking you out? And Doyle's like, well, because now I'm going to tell you what's going to come next. And he brings up the fact of Angel, when was the last, like, he's, you're here, pen of penance in your own little cell, you think you're helping humans, but you're cut off from them, a nameless, faceless champion of the human race. And Angel's like, I still see them, who cares if I don't stop and chat with them? And Doyle brings up the fact of, or the question, when was the last time you actually drank blood from a human? And Angel's like, Buffy. And of course, as I just said earlier, that's going to leave him with a deep, deep thirst for blood, saying as it was the Slayer's blood. And Doyle just pretty much lays it out on the table for him. You're going to save these people, but how long is it going to take before you start to think to yourself, I'm ahead by the numbers, I could eat this one. It's just like, who cares? I'm ahead by the numbers. So they head off. Doyle wants to get a drink. He's your typical wee Irishman. Goes for a bottle. So they're walking the streets and they're talking about Doyle's side here, and he reveals that we've also discovered at this point that he's half demon, and he says, because he got into the Angel's apartment without an invitation, so I'm in here without an invite, I'm not a demon or a vampire, but he sneezes and he turns into this green creature, these spikes on his face. So he's like, I'm very much human on my mother's side. But he tells Angel that he was sent by the powers that be, and he's not exactly sure who they are, but they send him these visions. All he gets is like a name and a face, and he doesn't know why he gets them, but he knows it's something important and people need to be helped out. So he's there as an agent of good, and a guide for Angel in this series, more or less. And more or less every episode Doyle will get a vision, and Angel will go and save the person that's involved in that vision. The vision he got And this episode was simply just Tina, coffee spot, and a time. And Angel's like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? And Doyle's like, well, you're going to have to get in there. High school's over, buddy. You're going to have to make up with the grown-up chat here. You're going to have to go and get involved, get into their life, find out what's happening. So Angel does indeed go there to the coffee spot, and he finds this girl, Tina, and she's a waitress in there. She's trying to get some extra hours for work, and Angel's trying his best, and he's very awkward, trying to small talk, and she's like, you don't really hit on girls that much, do you? And he's like, it's been a while. But she's very untrusting of him, and she's like, have you been watching me? And he's like, no, you were just walking across, and I seen you coming through there. But he asks her, are you happy? And she's like, that's a big question, have you got 3 hours? And he's like, do you look busy? So he's waiting for her after shift ends. She leaves, comes out, and she pulls it, ton of mace on him, and she's about to squirt him in the face, and she's like, I know who you are, I know why you're here, tell Russell to leave me alone. And Angel's like, who's Russell? So he gets through to her by telling her that, what, I was in there, you seemed lonely, and I thought we would have something in common then. So he's a bit of a fish out of water at this point in the series, in this opening episode. So she trusts him enough to let her guard down, and she opens up with a little bit about why she came to LA. She came to be an actress, but they weren't hiring, and she's dressed up. She has to go to a Hollywood party because the girl that was running it has her security deposit, so Angel offers to give her a lift. And at the party, he bumps into good old Cordelia. She pops up in this episode as well, or this series. Now, I did say previous episodes of the podcast that I wasn't sure about Cordelia coming into this series or not, because she was always one of those characters where there didn't seem to be much middle ground with Cordelia Chase and the whole run of Buffy. You either loved her or hated her off the bat, and I remember whenever this series was in production and the first reports were coming out from it that Angel was going to be joined by Cordelia, I was like, oh God, why? But this turns out to be one of the best decisions in the whole run of the Buffyverse. What they do with Cordelia and the 4 seasons that she's in is phenomenal. The character, absolutely fall in love with her. By the end of this first episode, you see a different side to Cordelia. It's not the first time you've seen this sort of side to her, but very rarely did you get a glimpse of it in the Buffy series. But they really play into the strengths in this episode. So she has been Cordelia in this opening chat with her and Angel, and she's like, what are you doing here in LA? Are you evil? Are you here to kill people? And Angel's like, no, I'm just give a friend a lift. And she says she's there, she's acting, she's living in Malibu, she's a big success, and I need to go and talk to people that are people. So as she walks off, Angel comments to himself, it's great to see that she's grown as a person. So there's a guy turns up at the party as well, Stacy he's called, and he's kind of roughing up Tina, and she breaks away from him, not realising that Angel has seen this, and he asks, who's this guy? And she's like, he's just a creep, and can we leave? The girl didn't have the money. So while they're leaving, they're jumped by a couple of guards, more or less, heavies that work with this guy, Stacy, and they try to abduct Tina, and Angel fights them off. And there's a nice little sequence with a bit of comedy where he's running to jump into his convertible car to chase after the car that Tina's in, and he jumps into the seat, superhero music and everything playing in the background. He puts the key in to turn on the ignition, and the car won't start, and he realises that his own car is sitting like 3 spaces across. And so he eventually rescues her from these guys and takes her back to his basement apartment. And she's like, this is the point where you get to comfort me. It's not like you didn't earn it. And he's like, no, well, this is the place, this is the time where you have a safe place to stay while we figure things out. And she breaks down, and you're so in the wrong town. It's just, she's that used to being in LA. She said it before in the episode, do yourself a favour, don't stay. She's just too used to people taking advantage. And Angel does indeed say that to her. There's enough people taking advantage right now without me doing it. So they have a chat in a moment there, and she falls asleep on the couch in the apartment, and Angel, having been told by her that she had a friend that disappeared, when she falls asleep, he checks her address book in her purse, and there's this name that has 3 different phone numbers that have all been crossed out. And he goes to the library to do a bit of research, and eventually finds details on all these murders that are happening, and photographs of this girl, and she's got a tattoo on her shoulder. When he returns, he hears moaning, and his access to his apartment is through the sewers. There's an entryway in the room itself, and he pops up from the grate, and she's having a nightmare, Tina, and he wakes her up and calms her down a little bit, and he asks did her friend have a tattoo on her shoulder, and she says yeah, she had a rose. So he reveals, yes, through my research. No, sorry, did I say earlier she had said she had a tattoo? She didn't say that. She revealed that after Angel mentioned it. So he's like, I think she was murdered. This guy preys on young women that have got no families, nobody to care about them, and that are on their own. At which point Tina notices on the desk, or on the coffee table, the note of what Doyle had given Angel with her name, the coffee spot and the time on it. And she freaks out. You knew who I was when you came in there last night. So Angel's caught. He doesn't know what to say at this point. Like, I had your name. It's a long story, but she freaks out and makes a run for it. You're just as bad as Russell is. And she runs to get out of the apartment. Angel's chasing her to try and stop her, and stop, wait, just let me explain myself. But it's now daylight, and as he grabs her by the shoulder to stop her, she pulls his hand under the sunlight, and of course his hand catches in fire, and the reaction is that he changes the vampire form. So she runs, nothing he can do, middle of the daytime. So when she gets back to her own apartment, Russell's there waiting for her. Turns out he owns the apartment, most of the block that she lives on, and turns out he's a vampire. Shock horror, eh? So he has this thing where he won't kill the person until his thing is, just tell me what you want. And the person will ask, I want to go home. And that's what Tina says. And when she says that, he's like, done. And he transforms into a vampire, and of course bites her. So while all this is taking place, obviously Angel's tracked down where she lives at, but by the time he gets to her apartment, Russell's gone. She's dead on the floor, and a little bit of time passes. At night time, we kind of we cut to later in the evening. At night time, whenever the police are there checking out the murder scene, and through the window we see Tina on the floor, and the zip of the body bag going up around and closing her in, and across the street Angel's on top of a building watching. So of course he's in full vengeance mode at this point, and he wants to track this guy Russell down and take revenge for killing Tina. Throughout the episode, while all this is going on, we do get to see what's happening in Russell Winter's side of the thing, the vampire. And he is surrounded by lawyers. He's a businessman, worth a lot of money, living in a huge mansion. And there's this young lawyer, Lindsay, turns out his name is. And I can't recall, as much as I love this series, I can't recall if Lindsay's name was actually brought up in the episode. I don't think it was. But yes, of course, Lindsay's there as a spokesman for Wolfram and Hart, the law firm, which is a name that's going to pop up more times than enough in this series. Yes, but we'll get into that in due course. It's interesting what they made the big villain to be in this series. Whereas in Buffy, you kind of had like one main storyline throughout the single season, one big bad per season. But in the Angel spin-off series, the big bad ran for the entire run of all 5 seasons of it. Although we did have bits and pieces throughout there that could have been split down into like seasonal things as well. But the main villains of the piece is this law firm, Wolfram and Hart. But we'll get to that whenever we get to it. Russell's watching a video that was taken the night of the party where Angel and Cordelia were there with Tina, and he's was kind of sorry to kill her so soon. She really had something about her. And he spots Cordelia on the video, and he's like, oh, fresh face. And the old Wolfram and Hart lawyer pipes up, should I alert the senior partners that this could be an long-term investment? And he's like, no, I just want something to eat. So while that's going on in the episode, we discover Cordelia's side of the story. What she told Angel wasn't true at the party. She wasn't living in Malibu. She wasn't a successful actor. She's been trying. She's been failing. And she's in her apartment listening to the answer phone machine. It's her agent telling her that, I'm having trouble getting bookings for you. The producers are saying they've seen enough of you for now, so just hold tight and I'll get to you when something does come up. And while she's listening to that there, she's opening up this little package that she has with her, and it turns out to be a few of the sandwiches that were being served at the party earlier that night. So she's that down in her luck. She's taken food from the party she was at just to try and keep herself fed, so down in her luck in a major way. So eventually she gets tracked down by Russell's people and taken to his mansion, and at the same time, of course, Angel's worked out where this guy lives at, and he's, along with Doyle, are going to start their assault on the mansion to take him out. And we get a little bit of the commando Angel in this here, where he's jumping over walls and he's setting up explosive timers in the power box of the house to take out the electricity. And while that's happening, Angel doesn't know it yet, but Cordelia's already in the house talking to Russell, and he's still trying to set up his thing where he just wants them to tell him what they want before he kills them. And he's going through the whole thing, how are you getting on in LA, and Cordelia kind of doesn't break down, but she's close to it, and she's like, it's not everything that I hoped that it would be. And Russell, he's trying to push the kill switch, more or less, his little kill switch, where it's like, just what do you want? Cordelia even asks, what do you want me to do? And he's just like, well, just tell me what you want. But before she does, she's just on the verge of saying what she needs or what she wants, and she turns into full Cordelia mode for a few moments, and she's like, oh, look at me, I'm getting weepy in front of you, I'm looking really scary. And she gets up and she's dabbing her eyes and she's looking around the house, and she's like, it's not every day I get invited to somewhere so nice with no mirrors and lots of curtains then it dawns on her that, hey, you're a vampire. And of course, Cordelia, being Cordelia, she doesn't keep this thought there herself. She blurts it out. She's like, oh, you're a vampire. And he's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, I'm from Sunnydale. We had our own Hellmouth. I'm pretty sure I know whenever I'm stuck in alone in the vampire's lair. And she starts to freak out then whenever she is verbalising the fact that she's screwed at this point. So she runs from him, and just as he catches up on her in the mansion, the explosive charge goes off, knocks out the electric box, and Angel appears. And he's like, I've got a message for you from Tina. And Russell's like, and it's interesting to say now that Russell, whenever he changes the vampire form, he's a lot different than most of the vampires I've seen at this point. He's not your regular vampire. He's more green in tone of the face. He's a bit more bumpy in the face. And it's obvious that he's been a vampire for a long, long time. Like, it doesn't say in this episode how old he is, but he's obviously, I would say, probably 400 to 500 years old. I'm just off the top of my mind, just going by the changes that you see in vampires throughout the run of the whole series, how they change more and more as they get older. So he doesn't know who Angel is, and Cordelia is kind of like, oh, you don't know who he is? You're about to get your ass kicked. So Russell and Angel fight. Not a massive fight. Few slaps, few punches, few kicks before his armed guards turn up. And of course Angel sees these guys coming with the guns drawn, and he jumps to cover Cordelia from the gunshot. So he takes one on the shoulder, 2 or 3 rounds in the back as he grabs hold of Cordelia and jumps off the top banister of the top floor down onto the opening doorway of the house. They make a run for it, and Doyle is outside waiting for them, and they make their escape. So we cut over to Angel's apartment, and Doyle's doing his best to dig out the gunshots from his chest, and Cordelia is patching Angel up, and she's like, I'm not going to hear from this Russell guy again. Like, he put the fear of God on him. Like, he's not going to come looking for me, is he? At which point they're like, you know what? If Russell wants to find you, he's going to find you. We worked that out from Tina earlier on in the episode. So the following morning at Russell Winter's Enterprises, this guy is worth a fortune. He's in his office up on the top floor of this building, and they're having a board meeting, more or less. There's a few people sitting there, and of course this little lawyer from Wolfram and Hart is sitting there, and he's telling Russell that, the local police have got no track of this guy that broke into your house, but we've got a few high class private investigators working the case to try and figure out where he is located at. And at that point, Angel busts through the door into the office, and Russell's like, I think we've found him. So they have a verbal confrontation in the office. Not so much heated argument, but Russell's more or less just setting it down. This is LA. We don't go around fighting with each other. And Angel's like, I'm new here. Russell's like, here, look at me. I pay my taxes. I keep my name out of the paper. I don't make waves. And in return, I can do whatever the hell I want. At which point, Angel puts his foot onto the seat that Russell's sitting on, just in between Russell's legs. And Angel leans in towards him and he says, can you fly? And he gives him a massive push, puts him through the window of the top floor of the building, and Russell drops to the ground. Of course, he's a vampire. He's going to burn up before he hits the ground. And all we see is the empty chair hitting the sidewalk. At which point, Angel leaves the office before sticking the little business card that the lawyer gave him. He was the first one to confront Angel coming into the boardroom. He's like, I represent Wolfram and Hart. Our client has never been accused and never will be convicted of any crime. So, there's something sinister to this guy and this Wolfram and Hart crowd. And as Angel leaves, the little lawyer gets on the phone and sets up a meeting with whoever's on the other end of the phone. He's like, no, don't worry about it. It's not. Don't bother the senior partners with this yet. We've got a new player in town. So at the end of the episode, back at Angel headquarters, we have that little sequence where he lifts the phone to call Buffy, and the tie-up to that season 1 episode of Buffy. And Doyle is there, and he's like, you know, are you okay? And Angel's like, well, I killed the vampire, it didn't help anybody. Doyle's like, you know, are you sure about that? Because there's a woman up the stairs that's as happy as can be. And of course, they hear Cordelia freaking out, and she's seen a cockroach up in the office block above the apartment. And she's like, you know what we need to do is clean this place up and call a sign painter. You know, Doyle filled me in on your little mission, and you know, we can maybe charge people, and you know, on a case by case basis, and with me working with a flat rate. So she's assuming a lot at the end of this episode, but we get that little deep moment of Cordelia at the end, that little tender moment where she blurts out all these ideas as the hardcore Cordelia, you know, handing out the rules and whatnot. We should do this, we should do that, we should do the other, we should charge people, then you can pay me. And then she's like, you know, if you think you can use me. And it's a nice little moment. It's well acted by Charisma Carpenter. She's flipping fantastic in this series. Really come into her own in this run of Angel. But Angel simply hands her an empty box at the end of the episode, and she starts to clean up the office, and Doyle is like, you know, you made a good decision there. She'll give you a connection to the real world, and but you could use a lot of help. Are you game? And we get a little closing sequence where Angel's on top of the building looking out across the city at night time, and you hear this little voiceover for him at the end saying, I'm game. Absolutely fantastic little episode here. There's just it was one of these shows where it was a joy to watch when it came out. At a certain point, I stopped watching them on TV and waited for the box sets just so I could binge the absolute crap out of them. Because, as I said, in the UK here, I'm over in Northern Ireland here, it's part of the UK, and season 1, I do believe it was an episode in season 1. Now, when I say there's a few episodes, I'm pretty sure, haven't seen all the seasons at this point, there's a few episodes on there that probably weren't aired in the UK because of this one in the season 1 box set that I know for a fact wasn't aired in the UK. I can't recall the name of the title of the episode, but when we get to it, I will let you know about it. But yeah, once I got into that box set, we're talking VHS box sets here. You didn't get the entire season in one go. You got half the season, then you had to wait a couple of months for the second part of the season. But I think after season 1, and I watched the box set more times than enough, as soon as we got to season 2, I just gave up watching it on TV and just waited for the box set to come out. Then me and a couple of friends would sit down that were into the show. I would get the box set for my collection, and we would sit down on a Saturday when the box set came in, and we would literally, from morning to evening, watch that entire run of episodes in the one day. Absolutely brilliant times. Yes, I've been a lifelong nerd, but this episode, fantastic opener. This series is absolutely fantastic, and there's a lot of high moments in this series, and yes, I can't say enough good things about it, but I'm biased. I really do. I really did take to the Angel character, as I say, from probably the episode in season 1 of Buffy that was titled Angel. From that one on, I thought, okay, he's not as annoying as I thought he was. There's depth to this character. It'd be good to see if he could flesh this out a bit more. We didn't really get that in Buffy, but we do get it in the Angel series in spades. And yeah, there's a nice little cliffhanger at the end of season 1, but we're jumping way ahead of shit now. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I didn't think I was going to be chatting as long about this episode as I have, but as I say, absolutely fantastic. Got a lot of time for this show, so I'm definitely not going to be missing the episodes for, gosh, what is it? There's probably like 100 plus episodes this year, so you're definitely going to be getting 100 weeks in a row without a gap. Maybe biting off more than I can chew there, because it is literally, now that the Angel reviews have started, it's a 3 episode week for Hellmouth Hotline, but I'm going to do my best to stick up with it, or to stay up with it, because good times. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please rate and review it. Let me know what you think in the email, hellmouthhotline@gmail.com. And until the next episode, this has been your host, Rodney Stewart. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.